So in this video, what I'll be doing is I'll be going through my process of how I turned a poster, which by the way is not mine, go check the description if you want to find the original artist and the original art piece, how I turned a poster into a pixel art design. Basically, I was watching a video by Brendan James Gurr, I think I pronounced that right, on how he was able to turn a manga piece into a pixel art piece. And he recommended for newer artists to just lower down the resolution and see what you can make from that. And that's the progress I'm going to be going from, because I'm quite new to pixel art. Only a year compared to his 6-7 years of pixel art. And yeah, my artwork's definitely not professional yet. But yeah, so that's going to go show you my progress on how I did this. Cool, so one of the first things I did and did not record was I ended up putting down the piece and lowering the resolution to 192 and 108. I also did put down the hippo's shape and size down, and now I'm just going over the text I wanted. But you'll see that there is a number of text differences between mine and the original pieces. The main difference being that the pieces do not touch. For instance, where the letter H and I would touch, I decided not to do that. I mean, that's because I did not want them to blend together like that. So what I ended up doing, and what you're seeing right now and does develop throughout the video, I put the titles in a barrier of sorts. And then also ended up trying to do is show depth of the water. I did this multiple times and it will change throughout the video, on where I'll put a darker layer above the lighter layer, and I'll continuously do this throughout the video in order to make the water look like it gets deeper. In the original piece it does show bubbles around the hippo. I like that design look a lot and I wanted to replicate it but add my own depth to it, so I decided to do this bubble look around the hippo instead. You also just saw me elongate the hippo. The original art piece didn't really show the hippo's body, more just the hippo's head, so this was more freestyling from the design. At this point I'm just tracing the top of the water. I'm really not happy with how the water kind of like adapts itself to pixel art. So a lot what I'm doing right now is going to get scrapped, me trying to replicate how the water looks in the original art piece. But later in the video I just don't like it and I end up getting rid of it. This was meant to be part of the water flap, as you'll see, where it's just the water is a bit darker, as you can see underneath the wave. Again, this does not stay either. A lot of what I found was a lot of trial and error. I want to take as much as I can from the poster and adapt it to pixel art, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, aren't you just copying? And to a lot of degree, I can definitely see that argument. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to create the same poster, but in pixel art. And so by a lot of means it is just copying, but it's also bringing a new aspect to the original piece, seeing how certain aspects would adapt to pixel art. For instance, the hippo's silhouette did adapt to pixel art quite well, but needed to be elongated. The text adapted to pixel art really well, but again needed to be changed, not to connect, and have this cool barrier look instead. Well, I didn't need it, but I did think I enjoyed it a lot more. At this point, the video starts to really differentiate itself from the original art piece. At this point I'm just trying to put out a black silhouette for the man, and I was also doing the black silhouette as the same shade of the bottom of the boat, which is a bit odd. What I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to draw in the boat, and I'll later give up on this kind of adaptation of drawing the boat, because what I ended up doing is preferring a more of a night sky look. And this propulsion blade, I think it is at the end, I don't really know what it is, but the end bit of the boat I found really difficult to adapt into pixel art, because circles are quite hard to do, and then having two circles inside of each other with the bottom one connecting. I think this is more the piece where I realised that I wanted a more of a silhouette look. that red share just really kind of hindsighted to me how this idea was not going to work. So then I just tried to create more of a silhouetted look. So the idea at this point was that the moon, or some sort of light source at the top, will be casting a shadow on the top part. So there you could only see under the water clearly, with the top one being cast in the silhouette from a light source. Again, I'm also trying to add more to the splashes of the water, which again do not, and trying to give the boat a more dynamic look, but I do just end up enlarging the boat. This idea I tried to do outlines for the hippo, just to give it more of a pixel art look, but I really didn't like it. At this point I'm also tracing what I believe to be the teeth. However, what I'll end up doing later is when I'm detailing or rendering the hippo, I'll go back and actually fine line a lot of these teeth looks. Something to note at this point is the hippo is not actually underneath the shading of the water. This is something I do fix later in the video. So the hippo is affected by the same darkness which is being cast onto the water, just to make it more realistic. So the hippo, it doesn't look like the hippo is standing out and then the water is behind of it. Again, there is a lot of what I do like and don't like in this video. Now I'm looking back at it, I do think what my piece ends up being is quite different from the original piece, which is the main reason why I am posting this, is because I feel like I took the poster and adapted it correctly into the art piece. Please, by all means, go check out the original artist who created the original poster. And yeah, I do end up liking what I end up creating, and I just wanted to share it. But during this quiet minute of the video, I'm going to go over a little bit of what I've already done, not mentioned. I've gone over a bit of the rendering for the teeth, making it more inside of the mouth rather than engulfing the mouth. I try my best to adapt the font type from the pixel art. At this point I then try to create a moon using those bigger circles in order to create a more of a light source and to create the bottom layer darker. At this point I was just trying rendering the moon. However, I didn't really like that tactic, so I just tried a white daub, grey bits in between, and then darker grey bits on the lighter shades. At this point I was doing my classic night sky look. I do this night sky look quite a lot, of where I try to render the stars. No one's really asked me about it, but it is something I do quite a lot throughout the videos. Is that I'll, especially draw my art pieces and a lot of my modern art pieces, I'll go for a night sky. And again, this is one of the biggest differentiations between the original art piece and my art piece, is that the original art piece was cloudy with some houses in the background. Mine is, well, a night sky with the moon silhouette being cast upon a character. At this point I'm trying to fix the shade of water by trying different blending techniques, or just trying to use different colours to make it look more original or just more organic. However, I don't keep this look and I do end up getting rid of it. This is the part of the video where I tried to fix the top of the water. While my idea at the moment is just to make the water more straight. Not necessarily exactly straight, but make it look a lot less wavy than it originally is, to show that still water with the boat being on top of it as a silhouette with the moon casting on it, and the hippo coming underneath from the depth of the water. And then obviously we have the logo as well. At this point I was doing a lot of bubbles. I did way more bubbles than I needed to do during the top bit of the water, but I was heard that's more realistic because the top of the water has a lot more oxygen towards it. And then yes, I did use the bubble colour to separate the two areas as a clear cut-off line. Here was also an attempt of adding a little like wave or an overlap where you can see the water. But I didn't like that and ended up changing it. And then for this bit I ended up adding a top part of the water, which would be a lot lighter. As you've seen, the water gets darker the lower you get, and what I do not want to do is I do not want to add another dark layer. I thought it would be a lot more simpler just to add a light layer on top. Here's the slogan from the film. I actually pixeled this 100%. For this font it was simple, 3x3, and I think a lot of the areas actually came across really well. Though the G is always a really hard one. Now I'm just trying to figure out placement, and I think I got it somewhere I really like. At this point I'm just putting down shading where I think the shading looks best on the hippopotamus in the art piece, and just trying to replicate it. Though the shading does differentiate itself a lot from the original art piece, definitely because of where I'm doing it, choosing the entire bottom half of the hippo, not to mention some of these finer areas. But I think it will just give it a more realistic look, which is what I'm going for. More like a horror game box art. When I was creating this, a lot of what I wanted to create was a horror game box art, and I think what I ended up creating kind of does look like a horror game box art. Who knows, maybe I can even turn this into a game. This is kind of where I think I've gone wrong as well with that overlay, as I think I made the shading way too light. At this point I'm just putting in nice blobs. What I did just then is I just put in a lighter shading to be the highlights. And here I'm trying to refine and also differentiate it from the original piece. Here's a second level of shading for the bottom half to make it much more darker. Though in the original piece this isn't really overly visible because I do put the water shading on top of it, so it's not overly visible and it's not overly something I needed to do. But it's an extra highlight, I believe. At this level I'm just fixing all the layering because it's kind of a mess if you can see the side. Putting the hippopotamus underneath the water while making sure the title screen isn't. I also put in the hippopotamus eye at this point and another level of shading. A good in-between texture, which I do think is way too close to the dark shade. It's not even visible in the final piece. And then I put in an extra lighter tone, which at this point for some reason I believe was actually a in-between light and middle, despite it being quite visibly lighter than the original. But this whole progress is just about learning, and this is why I'm uploading it, is just to teach you about my learning skills. I do go back off camera and fix this and just make that whole color I'm using right now the incredible lighter piece. And then I did use another shading in between the lighter and the already light, but I do end up getting rid of that off screen, I'm afraid. Along with some of the water, something you won't see me do in this video is fix some of the water layers. Some of the water layers just are not straight, and again this is meant to be more realistic, but it did bother me a lot, so I did end up changing on screen. And that being said, let's see the final art piece. Yeah, this was all really quite interesting. I did enjoy it quite a lot. I do think my final piece is very different from the piece I started off with, which is shown on screen right now. What I wanted to do more than all is just to adapt and change this poster into pixel art, and I think I adapted it really well. I know a lot of people might not like this and be like, why can't you make it from scratch? And I definitely do want to make it from scratch my next attempt. I think this was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and for my next attempt I think just go in completely blind, maybe not even have it as a reference, just use my memory and same concept and see what I can create. But yeah, I was really happy with this, and I think I did adapt it well into pixel art. There's definitely some things would do bother me, like the hippo really bothers me. I think it's way too similar to the original art piece, not to mention the teeth kind of just jag out around in places. And he kind of looks a bit like a hippo. I think the light shading is way too light, and the dark shading is just its natural tone at the moment. And yeah, not to mention with the water layer, it does kind of bother me as well. I do wish I fixed that better. I know I said that I fixed it earlier in the video, but I really should have just redone the water, I believe. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And that being said, again, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.